Alright guys, this one's going to be a strange video, okay? But I gotta do it the way I gotta do it because this is how I explain stuff. So it might be a little bit long-winded, but bear with me, okay? I feel as if this really needs to be done. So, let's begin. Cloud Chasing 101 video I did a while back, right? And I got a question over here from Jacob that says, I've seen a lot of people use a box for cloud chasing. What's the difference, and what's a good setup you would recommend for cloud chasing other than the one you just showed in my video? Okay, now a few things that I want to point out, right? When I released my video of Cloud Chasing 101, all right, I feel as if like it's a true 101 because it takes you all the way to the beginning of how to build a coil, where to buy your first newbie items, where to buy your starter items, what are the tools that you need to do this stuff. And basically, this was back then when, as long as you were sub-ohm vaping, you were blowing clouds. These days, it doesn't seem that way anymore, okay? These days, it seems as if, like, if you are not below 0.1 ohm, you are not blowing clouds, okay? And that is what is going on with this video over here with the Cloud Chasing 101, all right? Now, his Cloud Chasing 101, I don't think it's a 101. This thing is like a 303 or a 404 or something like that. This is very much further away, okay? And I'll prove that to you guys. Not to start a war with Rip, but hey, I gotta call it as I see it. I gotta call a duck a duck. You know, I'm not saying he's a duck. I'm saying it is what it is. If we go over here, okay, right in the beginning at his disclaimer over here, it says that if you are not a vapor that is experienced with rebuildable atomizers, do not try this at home. Okay, if you do not have like 30 amp batteries, blah, 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 okay, it's... Alright, let's just set that on the side for now, okay? Just set that on the side for now real quick, okay? Then, let's go back to 8 minutes and 30 seconds over here, right? Where he talks about his item, okay? And real quick, listen to this one.
The type of mod you are using, very important, right?
The moment that he said the mod that you are using, very important, my ears stood up immediately, and I'm like, that is exactly correct, okay? Tell it like it is, Rip. Tell them the truth.
Now I'm using a Cloud Chasers Incorporated unregulated box mod. Been using this thing for the past 3 weeks, and I can say this thing hits harder than any other mechanical mod that I own. Harder than the 24 karat gold plated V3 flip, harder than the Pegasus. The voltage drop on this is ridiculously low. It's so low.
Okay, here's where it bugs me, okay? Suddenly this thing became a commercial. It's selling the item now. It's selling the mod now, okay? It is not explaining the safety of what is going on. He completely misses out on this. This is just a complete, like, it's just a commercial for these items, okay? Talking about like how hard it hits, how whatever. Let me tell you guys something, the truth of stuff, right? For many of you who already know how to use the ohms law calculator, if you don't know how to use the ohms law calculator, go over to Pierre Bissardo's site, go over to like anybody else's site. I believe some of my earlier works or whatever, I teach you guys mechanical mod safety and things like that, and how to use the ohms law calculator. Currently, ohms law calculator is down for today. I don't know if it's going to be back up, so we're just going to use rapid tables, okay? And if you watch this video real quick, all right, you will notice that he used a 0.06 resistance coil. Okay, he built a 0.06. Okay, so let's go ahead in the resistance over here, right? 0.06 real quick, right? Now, let's do something fair. Okay, I'm not going to say 4.2. That's just insane. Nobody gets 4.2. Once the atomizer, once the mod is under load from the atomizer, okay, it's going to go down. So let's just say, right, nominal voltage is 3.7, and then it gets even lower than that. So let's give it 3.5. 3.5, I personally think is very real-world reasonable. Okay, so 3.5 at 0.06. Let's calculate this real quick. Okay, he is vaping at 58 point, running 3 amps, okay, and this is at 200 watts. He is vaping at 200 watts, right? So why am I making such a big deal about this? Well, it says specifically in the beginning, right, that like the whole, you better have 30 amp batteries and that can pulse at like 60 amps. But one thing is for sure, okay, is that at the moment vape world, nobody knows what pulse means. Nobody knows if it means a second, 2 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds. Nobody has any idea of that. So do not exceed these things, okay? So what bothered me the most about this? It's about series and parallel setups, okay? And that was what was so interesting about what Jacob said, and that's what I said to him, okay? That, like, you know, over here, right? The thing is that, like, I don't advocate this stuff. I don't teach this stuff. Even though you guys are asking me questions, I feel obliged to help you guys out as an educator. But then at the same time, because I don't stand behind it, I'm conflicted, you know? I feel as if, like, if I don't say something, somebody's going to get hurt, and I let that happen along with the rest of these people who are making cloud chasing look so cool. You see what I'm saying? So, I said over here to him, right, good eye, very good eye, that you noticed that this guy has a box mod in his hand. And what bothered me about this particular video, right, was that he's just talking about, like, how, oh, this box mod, it hits harder than the V3 Flip. It hits harder than the copper Pegasus. Right, but the thing is that, like, you can't use a single battery tube setup on a 0.06 coil, because let's go back to the calculator one more time over here, right? Let's reset this. Let's say you were getting like 3.7 nominal voltage over here, right? And then the resistance one more time, 0.06, all right? And then we calculate this thing. You exceed the 60 amp allowance. Boom, you know? Of course, it's not going to go boom, boom, because, you know, the iron mine batteries and, you know, it's safe chemistry. But then again, at the same time, you're not supposed to attempt something like that. This is exactly what every single educator, from me to Phil to Grim to everybody, has said, like, you know, battery safety. Don't push the limits onto this. So what's going on here, okay? What's going on is that, like, I need to take you guys over to understanding how to wire up, like, series and parallel setups and whatever. Before I did all of this stuff, I used to have a car shop, and, you know, this is just real quick, okay? I used to have a car shop, kind of like a Pit My Ride thing, and then, you know, I did all sorts of, like, car interiors and stuff. I also did a lot of car audio. So in car audio with wires and speakers and stuff like that, there's a lot of series and parallel setups and whatnot. So for me, it was really easy to pick that up and then apply it over to, like, vaping things. So I will leave the link for Battery University in the description below, and over here it talks about the serial connection. Okay, the serial connection is about, like, let's say normally when we say stacked batteries, okay, it means one battery on top of each other. Okay, so I'm just going to hold two batteries in my hand, exactly like the configuration over here, which is one on top of each other. And what that will do is that it will double the voltage, but the milliamps will stay the same. However, if things are wired in a parallel fashion, which means, you know, all the positives to the positives, all the negatives to the negatives, so they're side by side instead of one on top of each other. Open up your remote controls at home. You'll see many different kinds of setups, you know, one on top of each other or side by side, and that's exactly what it means. So what is going on here, right? The issue is that, does the max discharge increase as well as that? Okay, I could be wrong on this. I did a lot of digging around. Most of the information out there is all talking about, like, if you wire in parallel, it doubles the milliamps. If you wire the series, it doubles the voltage, and then that's it. Okay, so I went over here to a robotics forum, okay, and their, you know, supreme robot administrator over here, right, says yes, when you put batteries in parallel, you double the current ratings, both milliamp hours and discharge rate. When you put in series, you double the voltage, but current ratings remain the same. You see what I'm saying? So what's going on over here, right? I can only conclude that after this statement over here, okay, hopefully some of my subscribers, you guys out there, if you could find me another publication anywhere that specifically can confirm what he said, all right, much appreciated, and everybody needs to know this, and I will add that to the description below. However, that's what I feel is going on over here, and that's why I said good eye to Jacob over here, because he's got a box mod with a parallel setup inside that is what? Theoretically, it's pushing his 30 amp VTC5 batteries into 60 amp VTC5 batteries with 120 pulse. And that's why he's able to go ahead and vape this 0.06 ohm thing without stuff blowing up in his face. You see what I'm saying? That's what's needs to be understood about like series wiring, parallel wiring, and a lot of people are asking like different questions of stuff, because after you watch this video, you think to yourself that like, oh, okay, maybe I have to, you know, clock things down to like, you know, 0.06 or whatever, and then just the bell cap, and then, you know, maybe my V3, because he says over there, right, it's better than the V3 Flip, it's better than the Pegasus, suggesting that, you know, this thing is performing better when I put it on that. Actually, you cannot put it on those single battery tubes, because that is dangerous. You see what I'm saying? Okay, now I got to move on to another one, all right? Because that is the danger of the whole like single and the parallel mode and whatever. Now, there's also another series thing that's going on, if you guys have been paying close attention to it, okay? For many of you, like, you know, more advanced vapors or whatever, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. Recently, okay, Grim Green, Suck My Mod, Todd, okay, have all put out reviews on the Vapor Giant, okay? Nothing wrong with their reviews. Very good reviews. They like the Vapor Giant. Great, okay? However, all of the reviews were missing one element, and Nick from Grim Green kind of mentions it, okay? I felt as if like he didn't stress it hard enough, but still, like, I think excellent mention from him, actually. It was very important of this, because the whole point of the Vapor Giant is to have like this monstrosity of a PV device, right? And that is kind of the way, like, you know, the direction that vaping is trying to go. Either the manufacturers are kind of like, you know, herding us like sheep in that direction, or, you know, there's kind of like a demand for it, because, you know, a lot of people around the world, it's not just Americans, Germans, you know, Austrians or whatever. You guys are of like, you know, very large stature. You have big hands. You have like, you know, you like big things. You like something with like a little weight into it, right? So people are trying to satisfy like you know, this heavy, this need thing, right? So 26650, why not have it stacked, etc., 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 right? However, there's a lot of flaws into this stuff that like we need to address first before you just go ahead and dive into it, right? Because it's one thing to just like this thing, it's another thing to have like a little more technical background on it. So when we go into this, right, if you watch the reviews for Todd, that Todd did, that Matt did, that Nick did, okay, roughly they all built the coil around like 0.9, right? 1 point something, just somewhere around that 1 ohm area, okay? And it is correct, okay? Because what happens is that with the 26650 mod, right, if we go ahead and let's just say that we reset this thing, right, and then we use Matt's build, which is what did he do? He did like a 0.9 and he had like a 0.85, but you know, something like a 0.9, right? And then voltage, right? Let's just say nominal voltage over here, 3.9 maybe, right? 3.7 is nominal voltage, but let's just say like under load, whatever, fully charged battery should have been 4.2. You're gonna get like around 4.9, 4.1 to 3.9, so something like that, right? So if I put something like this and then I calculate, right? Oops, sorry, wait, was it 0.9 and then 3.9, something like that? Calculate, right? The current is 4.3 amps, and then the watts is like 16.9, okay, about 17 watts. Very comfortable vape in my opinion, especially because of the tank that comes with the Vapor Giant is kind of like a K-Fun style-ish tank, right? Okay, that's great. Now, the best thing that Nick from Grim Green mentioned, right, was that like once you stack this thing, all right, you really want to be around like the 3.0 resistance of coils. And when you think about it, he's absolutely correct. Look, nominal voltage, stacked batteries, 3.7, it would be 7.4, but that's not what's really happening inside of a mechanical unregulated device. What happens is that like it's what, fully charged battery on top of fully charged battery, so it's actually 4.2 on top of 4.2. So what does that come out to? It comes out to 8.4. You know what I mean? And once you put an atomizer on it, right, we're going to have it under load, and then it's going to lose out a little bit. So real world numbers on this, right? I would say that after we reset this thing, if you had this item stacked, the voltage would actually be something like 8.2. And if you went ahead and use Matt's coil, which is the 0.9, and then you calculate this thing, you are vaping at 74 watts. Now, for all of you guys who have like DNA devices, and you know, either you have a Russian 91 or a K-Fun or a K-Fun Lite, K-Fun 3.1, have you ever vaped those things at like, you know, 18 watts, 20 watts, 24 watts? What's it like? It's pretty warm, right? Can you imagine 74 watts of K-Fun power? That's either it's going to burn the coil, or you know, it's just horrible some way somehow. You see what I'm saying? So Grim says, like, really guys, recommend resistance 3.0 or 3.5 on this thing, right? Let's just give it 3.0. Let's just give it a little bit lower, right? And then again, voltage 8.2 on this big boy, right? If we calculate over here, Grim would have ended up with like 22 watts on the stacked battery, and 22 watts, in my opinion, is just a little on the intense side. It should be not bad. You know, I don't have to actually own the Vapor Giant to notice this stuff, to see this stuff. Basically, just watching their reviews, it's just, you know, you just put 2 and 2 together. You go over to the Ohm's Law calculator, and then you're just like, if you stack this thing in series, this is exactly what happens. And I feel as if like that needs to be like a warning label on top of this stuff. You can't just jump into this stuff, buy two 26650 batteries, and then, oh, you know what I mean, and go like all Hulk smash on it, because, you know, Hulk will end up smashing you, right? So careful with these things. And then the second thing that I want to mention, right, is just a little bit more of a speculation, right? One thing that both Matt and Dick has mentioned, right, is that the whole thing with the tank, with its juice control, right, how you have to twist it and whatever. It is my personal opinion that juice control is bullshit. Okay, it's just absolute fucking bullshit. Because a K-Fun, no matter how you build it, as long as you're building it right, vaping it at lower wattages, vaping it at higher wattages, either way, the juice flow and the way you have it with the wick set up and everything, it keeps up with the heat until you put it on something that cannot keep up with the heat. You see what I'm saying? Because like a K-Fun, it was probably never meant to be vaped at like, you know, 30 watts maximum or something like that. All right, so my point is that juice control should not be necessary. If you have a great tank, it's a very well designed tank, just like the Russian, just like the K-Fun, it never needed juice control. If anything, for many of you out there who own the Aqua, right, when was the last time you really had to adjust the juice control on the Aqua? The Aqua, it wicked. It just wicked, and you fired it up, and it tasted great. The next thing, right, is that as far as the juice control on top, Matt did mention that, like, you know, it seemed as if you really needed a very flat screwdriver, but it also had to be very wide at the same time, and that's just not a common tool, you know. But when I was looking at it, it seemed as if like you needed the like a paint scraper or something in order to turn that thing. Like it just didn't make too much sense, especially like, you know, if it ever got like over torqued and over tightened and you need to get that back out, right, you probably, you know, have to torque it out some other way. And then, okay, lastly, as far as the tank, right, the tank holding like 15 mils, 17 mils, guys, I gotta stress this, okay? Bigger is not always better. It doesn't. I mean, are you really committed to vaping the whole 15 mils? And plus, right, if you don't finish the 15 mils within a certain amount of time or whatever, there is heat going in those coils, coming back out into the tank. and with like, you know, different kinds of juices with different sweeteners inside, it will start to get darker. And as it gets darker, what's happening is that the juice is actually steeping. Okay, now certain juices are probably going to taste better after they're steeped, and certain juices are not going to taste good at all if it's past its steeping point. So this thing is a pro and a con, like all at the same time. Okay, and I'm kind of tired of seeing things like that being treated as a pro only. Same thing with like the Aspire Nautilus. You know, the K-Fun tank, you know, 4.5, now we're getting bigger, 5 mils, 6 mils, 7 mils, and then we double up the, you know, there's extended K-Funs and stuff like that, so that, like, you know, we're going up to 7 mils and 8 mils, this thing going up to like 15 and 17 mils. Why do you need to hold that much juice? It's like, it's plenty already, you know? 15 mils could last me like, you know, 3 days easily. Why do we have to like get like that crazy? And furthermore, right, putting 15 mils of juice in there, you're gonna have a lot of juice residue like clinging to the side of the tank and the base of the tank that doesn't get vaped if you switch juices. And that is probably like, you know, either like a 1/4 mil to like maybe 1/2 mil of juice just like completely wasted when you change flavors, you know what I mean? Because you're not gonna like, you know, scrape, and then, you know, get a Q-tip and then squeeze it back out, or, you know, you're just not going to do that. So having these huge, ginormous tanks or whatever, if you absolutely need the size and you're absolutely just, you know, I'm a collector, I'm hawking on the idea of that it's a monstrosity, right? Then absolutely go ahead and do that. But to intentionally say that all those things are pros, that I humbly disagree on that one. Okay, so until next time, guys, think about what's going on and question everything. Guys, hate to keep extending the video, but just real quick opinion that I want to leave out on the table, okay, is that back then when we used to smoke analog cigarettes, okay, we did it to satisfy a craving, all right, and we didn't do it to, like, you know, see who could finish a cig in like one drag. We didn't have you know, competitions of like people shoving like, you know, 2 cigars in their mouths at the same time, right? And you know, people who are users of this stuff, right? I mean, you know, we had like real aficionado judges, right, who would like, you know, judge like the flavor and the smoothness of a cigar. You know, and the other, every single user was like an epicurus as opposed to like an athlete. And you know, I just feel as if like smoking, vaping in general, it should be more culinary and less of a sporting event. Okay, I have been in contact with, you know, just a little bit of email back and forth with Phil, and even Phil has said to that like he firmly believes that like you know, when you go to those extremely high temperatures, if anything, you lose flavor. Okay, so many times when I'm seeing like these big clouds and then, you know, followed by the words I'm getting full on flavor, I really don't know what people are talking about.